Hi, this is Bruno with RVing TV, and today we're going to take a look at the Mitsubishi I-Miev. Mitsubishi Canada has been gracious enough to lend us a car for a few days to try out and take a look at real-world usage of the I-Miev. Now, the I-Miev is an all-electric car. It's not a hybrid, it's not a combination, it is a 100% electric vehicle. We are a rear-wheel drive versus some of the market's front-wheel drive cars, and it's set up to be a very user-friendly, very useful car, and really is at a very value-oriented price point in the marketplace. The I-Miev is actually going to be the lowest all-electric priced car in the marketplace today, offers a range in ideal conditions of up to 155 kilometers. Now, that is in ideal conditions. We've noticed after a few days of traveling that with our warmer weather that we've had, the I-Miev is actually giving us a range after 2 days of driving, approximately 120 kilometers, and that's with some air conditioning use. Now, in the winter months, you'll notice that this range will actually decrease. Mitsubishi itself says that you can see quite a significant decrease depending on the amount of electric heater usage that you're using and potentially the type of driving that you're doing. Now, the I-Miev really excels in urban situations. Downtown driving, in and out of traffic, stop and go, is really where the I-Miev will exceed. We have tried it in several different applications, both up and down our 400 series highways, as well as in-city driving. A great little story that we could really tell is that we took the I-Miev down one of the 400 series highways, drove a stretch of highway, managed to maintain most of the range that we had other than 1 or 2 kilometers. But as soon as we actually took an off-ramp and did some city driving, we actually quickly gained about 4 kilometers of range. So really is a testament to how well the car is suited for in-city driving. Now, let's take a little closer look at the I-Miev itself. Now, some things you'll notice about the I-Miev is its overall design. You know, very different from your traditional car, really does stand out. I quite like the design. A little bit of a futuristic look, very aerodynamic in the front. Now, what's really important to notice here is we have a nice long wheelbase, really provides some great stability, especially at highway speeds. Now, one thing, if you're looking at an EV, that you'll need to really take into account is drivability. One thing that you will notice in an EV, it will not ride like a luxury car. And that is just mainly due to the fact of the amount of batteries and the weight of the batteries in the vehicle really plants the car down. So on a really rough road, you will notice a rougher ride. Going to be right up front with you folks. However, that's no different than actually riding in a sports car with a really stiff tuned suspension. So the EVs in the marketplace today, really not going to be any different. Now, we are running on, very small wheels, really keeps the amount of friction very down, will give you maximum coasting. What I really liked about the I-Miev is that it is a 4-door car. You can actually get, as we open the door here, in the front you can actually get about a 6'1" driver in the front and still actually have lots of room for a passenger in the back. Now, it is a bench seat back here, however the rear seats do actually recline. You'll notice just a slight difference here. So really giving your passengers in the back a little bit of flexibility. Nice large openings to facilitate ease of access getting in and out of the car, which is great whether you're just simply traveling with a few friends or whether it's mom taking the kids to soccer. Now, as we get in here, what you'll actually notice is a very well set up vehicle. I'm going to pan out here to give us a little bit better view. And in our center stack, we have an AM/FM CD radio and player. We do have automatic climate controls here. Our heater controls are right here, our fan control, and then our various settings. We do have some very nice little features. Cup holders, of course, are right here. And if you're carrying some young kids, they actually do fit Tetra boxes. Our gear shift is right here, nice and easily accessible, which is great in an EV because you're going to want to be able to take it from drive down to either eco to get maximum range, or take it down into here our B setting, which is actually our higher regenerative braking setting, and you can actually flip that down on the fly. Now, regular drive will actually allow you to coast a little bit more, versus the regenerative setting is going to slow you down much quicker. The I-Miev does have front heated seats, power windows, as well as power door locks. Now, when we start up our I-Miev, really no different than starting up any other vehicle. You put your key in, hit the brake, turn it as if you were starting a standard car, except you're not going to hear a starter kick in. You're going to see a very lively display come to light in front of you. And what you will see, and I'll scan in a little bit, give you a little bit better visibility here, is our range. Now, right at the moment, we have 70 kilometers of range remaining. Our center stack will tell us our speed. Your needle will move accordingly, so up into our green area here, which is our eco, or further on into the gray if you're really getting into the accelerator and not being very efficient at your driving. Especially if you're accelerating or merging into traffic, you'll notice the needle pop right out into that. And then our blue section is our charge. So as we slow down, or as we drop our gear down into regenerative braking mode, we'll actually see that drop into the charge, recharging our batteries. Then just off to the left here, at a quick glance, it'll tell us in what mode are we in. Are we actually in regular drive mode, eco, or regenerative braking mode? And then how much battery power are the little bars on the left itself. What I really like about the I-Miev, nice and large windshield, very large here. You can really see well through it. As you pan around, the amount of glass for ease of visibility is phenomenal in the I-Miev. This just really takes you to functionality. We have a good sized trunk, which we'll take you back in a second to take a look at, and you can actually spend some really good time just out driving and enjoying the weather. Now, what's really nice about the I-Miev as well is that we have these large windows, but you can actually drive with them down and not get a ton of road noise. With so much emphasis on aerodynamics these days, some of the EVs, as you drop windows, will get some wind buffeting, will create a lot of road noise that you're getting from outside, and you'll notice it more in an EV because the cars are so quiet. What I really liked about the I-Miev here is you could drop the windows down, cruise windows down on a nice warm day, and actually get some just regular fresh air coming in and not drive yourself crazy with any air buffeting. So hats off to Mitsubishi for really getting that key in their design. Now as we take a walk around the outside of the I-Miev, you'll notice that it does have nice driving lights, really lights up the roadways in the evening very well. We did do some nighttime driving to see great visibility. We have projector style headlights here. Again, great for visibility. Up front, under what would normally be your traditional hood, is a small compartment that houses our battery, which is our 12-volt battery, because you're going to need that for various automotive applications. We have nice large windshield wipers, and again, the size of this windshield is great for visibility and driving. As we take a little walk around, what's also great about the I-Miev is that we have 3 different ways we can actually charge it. On this side, we have our level 3 charger. So that's going to give you the greatest amount of charge in the shortest amount of time. On a level 3 charger, if you were literally empty on battery range, you could bring this car up to 80% of charge in 30 minutes. Later, I'll talk a little bit about some of the great features of a level 3 charger. And then that just covers up. You can close it, keeps it nice, safe, and protected. We'll come back to the trunk area in a second. On this side, we have our level 2 charging. So it is just a traditional level 2 hookup. At level 2, it's going to take you upwards of 7 hours depending on how fully depleted you've taken the battery itself. Now you can also charge the car on level 1. Now Mitsubishi does supply a level 1 charger with the car, so it can be plugged in to a 110 volt power. It's a traditional plug in here with your standard house, your standard house outlet right here. Now, having said that, depending on whether you're charging it at 8 or 12 amps, so you do have the ability to change that, but that will be dependent on, is your house wiring capable of delivering the 12 amps. That'll bring the charge time down a little bit, but you're looking approximately 22 hours at 110 volts. So it's great if you end up at a friend's house, you're going to be there a few hours and you just want to put in a bit of a charge, give you a little bit of extra range. It's kind of great to have. Maybe you're traveling out of, you've gone out a little bit further, you're staying over at a local hotel, because again, we talked earlier that you can be talking about 120 to 155 kilometers of range, and depending on how many level 3 chargers you hit along the way, you can extend that range by putting in that quick charge. Now when we look at the back of the I-Miev here, you're going to notice a nice large hatchback style opening. The seats will fold down for additional storage space, but we do have some great space here for everyday use. In the last couple of days, we've packed up our very large camera bag with our various cameras and videos in there. We've actually put in some additional briefcases and additional equipment in the back, and it's fit all just fine in there. Now, if you're thinking about putting some huge items, yes, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. But again, that's going to be no different on any car in this class. So functionality, good functionality. They do have the tether strapping, tie downs for child seats. So really very family friendly overall. We have a very nice curved design, real easy access as I mentioned. And again, I'm just going to focus from the outside the amount of glass and visibility that we have here. So I have to say, from my perspective, Mitsubishi, I think, has a really great car here, a lot of functionality, very good pricing, and for my RVing friends, because one of our specialties is RVing, great car to be able to put on a small, lightweight trailer, take behind your motorhome, be able to go out of town, head south for the winter, because most of the traveling we're going to do if we're down south for 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get out of the snow is running to get groceries, going out for dinner, visiting some friends. And with that 120 to 155 kilometer range, that's actually going to give us some pretty good range. And in the US, they've been building up their level 3 chargers and level 2 charger network much quicker than we have been here, at least in Ontario. So that's potentially going to give you even more range as you're traveling by being able to hit some of those charging locations. Well, this is Bruno from RVing TV saying this has just been a quick little review of the outside of the I-Miev, and we'll have more information to come on the inside shortly. So now we're actually going to do a little bit of a road review on the Mitsubishi I-Miev. Great car. What I really love about it, very quiet ride, very, very efficient. So basically, it's like starting a car. We have a regular key. We do have the remote we talked about earlier. To start the vehicle, all you have to do is insert the key. Like most cars, press your brake, turn it. You'll see your dash actually come alive. It'll give you a ready signal, and that will tell you that you're ready to go. We can select down into drive, eco, or regenerative braking. Put down our parking brake, no different than any other vehicle, and let's head out on the road and get a sense. You'll notice very, very quiet startup. There's really nothing to it. And as we get rolling, very, very quiet ride here. Now, every time you do let off the gas or that you start to slow down, if you're very careful with your braking, you can actually charge the car because of its regenerative properties. This will extend your range, especially if you're actually in city, because you can pick up a lot of charging or regenerative charging with proper driving. We have experienced with this car that really in city is a very, very big sweet spot for the I-Miev. To give you an idea, yesterday we did do a little bit of highway testing to see how the car handles itself on the 400 series highways, which drives like a dream. You're going to find the sweet spot for highway driving is actually going to be right around that 90-95 kilometers an hour. So you're definitely right lane driving, because most these days are you know, in excess of that 110 plus on a 400 series highway. So if you're in the right lane, not a problem whatsoever. You're going to get very good range, about 95 kilometers an hour. Realistically though, this is an in-city car, and being an in-city car, you're going to find that's where you're going to get your maximum range. This morning we started up the vehicle and it is telling us that our current range based on our current driving is 123 kilometers till we're out of range. Now the I-Miev is rated under ideal conditions to have a range of about up to 155 kilometers an hour, but that'll greatly depend on, are you running air conditioning, how fast are you running your air conditioning, how much heat are you using, what speed are you traveling at. These are all going to be factors, and there'll be a little bit of variance from driver to driver, because then it also takes into account how you're driving and your driving techniques. But in city, to give you an idea, with a little bit of highway matched in there, yesterday we stopped at Power Stream Utilities. Now Power Stream's located at the 400 in Major Mackenzie. They have a level 3 public charger available. And if you treat that like a refueling stop, no different than picking up gas for a gasoline engine car, you can pull in, spend 3 to 10 minutes at your level 3 charger, essentially a pump, and get enough energy to, in this car, give you about another 10-12% of range. which is great if you needed that little extra range. You don't want to be worried about range anxiety. You could pull over, and in the time that it would take you to put your credit card in a fuel pump, pump some fuel, go in, pay, come back out to your car, you could actually gain 10 or 12% range. So we left from Major Mackenzie in the 400, drove down the 400 to Finch Avenue, across Finch Avenue to a locale that we were going to in the Finch and Keel area. We left Power Stream with a range of about 61 kilometers. When we reached our destination at Keel and Finch area, we actually had 64 kilometers range showing on the vehicle. So not only did we drive that stretch of highway, a good stretch of city road, but we actually picked up 3 kilometers range after doing that mileage. That's just using, you know, hills on off ramps properly, accelerating in traffic effectively, and you're just picking up that little bit of extra range. Now, we were also using the I-Miev in eco mode, so the car changes some of its throttle mapping a little bit, so the pedal isn't quite as sensitive. You know, when you drive, most drivers aren't noticing that they're doing it, but your foot's always moving. You're always giving input to the throttle. Well, in an electric car, that can be instant input because you're not having transmissions eat up some of that horsepower. So the eco mode will take some of those small movements out because the throttle isn't as sensitive, make you more efficient of a driver driving an EV. I'm gonna stay quiet for a minute or so, just so you can get the sense of the noise that you hear from the car. Now, as you can hear, very quiet ride. You do pick up a little bit of wind noise outside. You do hear a little bit of the electric engine, which, you know, just gives you the sensation of slowing down or accelerating. But overall, very, very quiet. Ride on the highway, very stable. You will feel some of the trucker ruts in the right lane, so it's just finding the right position. But the car has a very good ride. I know a few automotive enthusiasts out there have said, oh, it's not stable on the highway, etc. It is very stable. You will pick up a little bit of crosswinds, etc., depending on how windy it is that day, but that's really no different than any other small vehicle. For the size of the vehicle, the weight of the vehicle, very stable. I have no problem taking it up and down a 400 series highway and feeling safe and comfortable in the car. The drive itself, great. We are on smaller tires. That just helps for some efficiency. We've got a nice low center of gravity, and the battery gives us really good range. The advantage, as I mentioned earlier, the level 3 charging. Many other players in this marketplace offer level 3 charging. I think the advantage that Mitsubishi has here with the I-Miev is really a price advantage. The car may not be quite as fancy as some of the competitors. Nav isn't available. Bluetooth for your phone is not available. You know, we don't have a telescoping or tilting steering wheel, but it's in a very good position here. You know, the seats give you enough support. They're not fancy. There's no leather available. But that's okay, because you have to look at the car for the market that it looks like Mitsubishi is trying to go for. They're not trying to be the cream of the crop with as many options and as many frills. To me, the impression I get from this car is they've really built it to be a very economical car, be very reliable, really geared to that urban buyer that, you know, you're driving downtown, you're commuting around the suburb. So we could see a lot of moms taking their kids around in this car because it is a 4-door, has really good space for seating. You could drive around for days in the suburbs here, running errands, going banking, grocery shopping, taking the kids to soccer or hockey, and literally drive this vehicle for a few days without having to recharge it. And then when you do charge it, at today's electrical rates here in Ontario, I mean, you could be talking, you know, realistically, you're talking $1 or $2 to charge this unit at maximum. And if you're doing 30, 40 kilometers a day of driving, you have potentially 2 to 4 days worth of driving here, depending on how you're regenning, etc. Imagine that, driving 2 to 4 days for about $2. There's no gasoline engine in the market right now that's going to give you that type of economy, allow you to sit 4 people in it, have some room for some gear in the back, and have that kind of expense. Now, from a cost perspective, the car retails at about $28,000, $29,000. So it is at the lower end cost-wise of all the EVs that I've looked at. Closest one is going to be the Smart 4.2 electric, is similar in price, but it's a 2-seater car, much smaller. So you're talking $28,000, $29,000. In Ontario, you're going to pick up government incentives on this vehicle of $8,231. Plus, they're going to kick in about 50% of your charger install and cost of your charger. So, really great package to get people into EVs. Then, currently, Mitsubishi is running a special with rebates on the vehicle, upwards of $400 to $4,500, depending on whether this would be your first Mitsubishi or your second Mitsubishi. So realistically, when all is said and done, you're really more in a $17,000, $18,000 range. Today, that subcompact, well, sorry, I should correct myself. Really, that's mini car money. And at the lower end of mini car money, where you're still burning fuel, yes, you'll have 4 doors, but you're not going to be as wide, you're not going to have as big of a wheelbase, and it is going to drive a little differently. Still great cars, the mini cars, but really you're getting a lot more for your money. A lot of value I see here in this car. So I see it attracting a lot of different buyers out there. You're going to have, you know, potentially the high school students looking to buy a first or second car if they can maybe find a second-hand one with reasonable mileage. If mom and dad are helping their teenagers buy their first car, great idea here with an EV. They're basically going to be able to go back and forth from school to their part-time jobs on literally no expense. What electricity is going to cost. And with the range that this vehicle offers, and as I mentioned, you know, we fired it up this morning and it was showing 123 kilometers. We've only had the car for 2 days. And we're actually building range as we go along. So in the summer months, do I think you could be talking 120 to 150 kilometers, especially if you're doing a lot in city? Absolutely. What does that mean for a student? Huge savings for them. And realistically, at the end of the day, guess who's paying the electric bill? Not our teenagers. It's going to be mom and dad. So that gives them a little bit of savings from their part-time jobs. They can put more money aside for school, books, or to be able to go out to the movies and have some fun with friends. Absolutely great value for that kind of marketplace. Anyone traveling around city, and as I said, even, you know, soccer moms. Be able to get 4 people in the car, travel around, very minimal cost, very minimal investment into it, especially when you couple some of the financing programs with 0 interest or you know, 0.5% to 2% type of interest. Very reasonable to get into an EV these days, and the payback on the vehicle starts to become very quick with even reasonable mileage. So currently we're actually traveling up a 400 series highway. I just wanted to give you an idea of driving the vehicle at 100 kilometers an hour. We're actually heading north on the 400, right in the York region area. As you possibly have just seen, a tractor trailer has gone by. The car is very stable at highway speeds. You know, you do feel, because it's a little narrower than some cars, again, more in a smaller car range, you're going to feel some of the ruts in the highway, especially seeing I'm in the trucker's lane here. But, you know, nothing different than I haven't felt in even some of the smaller BMWs that I've had an opportunity to drive. So, nothing that, to me, makes the car really stand out. I would be perfectly fine with driving this if I had to get up on the highway to get to a friend's cottage, within the EV range, of course, or as time goes on, as more level 3 chargers hopefully start to show up across the province. Various utilities are talking about building a network like some of the provinces and some of the US states have for level 3 chargers, which is a great idea, because this I-Miev on a level 3 charger will take the car from a literally empty battery charge up to 80% charge in 30 minutes. Then the remaining 20% you can charge on a level 3, but it's really going to charge it at a rate of a level 2. What's also nice about the level 3, as I mentioned in an earlier segment, you can use it like a fueling station. Consider your range your fuel tank, and when you start to get a little low, if you're a little worried about what range you're going to have, to remove the anxiety, you'd be able to pull up 5-10 minutes at the charger, pick up another 10-12% charge, and off you go again. Makes the difference of getting to your destination or your home with 3-4 kilometers if you've gone that far of range remaining, to having, you know, 15-20 kilometers of range remaining. Just a greater peace of mind. I think that would absolutely be great, and if everyone used the level 3 as a top-up mechanism, you know, you wouldn't sit there for a half an hour waiting for someone to pull away from a charger. It'd be no different than waiting for someone at a fuel pump on a busy day. Pull up, grab your fuel, off you go. You're at the pump for 3 to 10 minutes. So just some great options that are available. But as you can see, I'm pretty much straight as an arrow here. We're not pulling on the steering wheel, correcting. Just a nice, comfortable ride, and all the time we've been doing 100 kilometers an hour here. As I mentioned, sweet spot is really in that 90-95 range, but we wanted to give an idea, because a lot of people will ask, what if I'm running a little late and I've got to hop on a highway for a run? What if I've got to take the 401 across? How comfortable am I going to be? In my eyes, really no issue with it. Let's talk about ride characteristics for a few minutes before we finish this segment. Like any EV, you've got your weight of the batteries mounted low, meaning your center of gravity is low. You're going to find your ride is a little firmer, very much more of a sportier sports car feel. If you buy an EV to have a Cadillac, BMW, Mercedes ride, you're not going to get that. I'm going to be right up front. But it is going to be very exhilarating to drive. Because you have a low center of gravity, you have that weight of the batteries. You're going to find when you go into a corner, it's going to track very nicely. You're not going to feel all sorts of body roll, because those batteries provide a lot of stability in the car. where your limitation is going to be is every car is using a different size rim and tire combination. So some cars will excel more going quicker through corners. Other cars are meant to go a little bit slower and just be a daily driver. But all of them are going to feel fun to drive, especially in the corners, because you're not getting all that body roll that a lot of cars are going to give you. You'll feel on a rougher road, you're going to feel it a little bit more than an average car, again, just simply because of the weight, but nothing that would drive you crazy. And I've driven, you know, very nice vehicles with very plush rides, right down to some sporty vehicles. We will be posting a review in the next while on a 2004 BMW Z4. Well, in that series of models, BMW set up the suspension to literally have almost no suspension. You feel like you're riding on rails. It actually gives me the same kind of sensation driving most of the EVs. A lot of stability, you feel very much planted to the ground. So just a great experience. In my eyes, if I'm comparing it to a two-seater BMW, that BMW always puts a smile on my face. No issue with an EV in my mind. Well, that just gives you some thoughts on highway driving.